The year was 2147, and humanity had finally begun to stretch its reach beyond the confines of Earth. Colonies dotted distant planets, and exploration missions ventured further into uncharted territories. Among these explorers was Captain Elias Rowe, a seasoned astronaut known for his calm demeanor and sharp instincts. He led a small crew aboard the Aurora Seeker, a sleek vessel designed for deep space reconnaissance. Their mission was simple: chart new star systems and identify resources that could support human expansion. On their 15th day in orbit around an icy moon circling a gas giant, something unusual caught the attention of the ship's sensors. Deep beneath the frozen surface, buried under layers of ancient ice, lay what appeared to be a massive metallic structure. At first glance, it resembled a natural formation, but closer scans revealed intricate patterns etched into its surface, patterns too symmetrical to occur naturally. "Captain," called out Lieutenant Mara Singh from her station, her voice tinged with excitement. "This isn't just a bris. It's a ship." Elias leaned forward, studying the holographic display projected above the console. His brow furrowed as he processed the implications. Ships didn't just crash on random moons. They were abandoned, destroyed, or lost. Whatever this was, it wasn't human-made. "Prepare a landing team," Elias ordered, his tone steady despite the adrenaline coursing through him. "We're going down there." The descent was perilous. The moon's atmosphere, or lack thereof, made navigation tricky, and the thick ice obscured visibility. But after hours of careful maneuvering, the shuttle touched down near the edge of the mysterious structure. Clad in thermal suits equipped with oxygen tanks, Elias and two members of his crew stepped onto the desolate landscape. The airlock of the alien craft was partially exposed, its jagged edges glinting faintly under the dim light of the distant sun. Inside, the temperature dropped sharply, and the silence was oppressive. The walls of the corridor gleamed with a strange iridescence, pulsating softly as if alive. Every step echoed ominously, heightening the sense of unease. Yet Elias couldn't shake the feeling that they weren't alone. "Stay alert," he whispered into his communicator, his breath visible in the frigid air. "Something feels off." As they moved deeper into the ship, the corridors grew narrower, twisting like veins in some colossal organism. Then, without warning, the ground trembled slightly, and a low hum resonated through the walls. Ahead, a faint blue glow emanated from an open doorway. Cautiously, Elias approached, his heart pounding in anticipation. What he found inside took his breath away. In the center of the room stood a cryogenic pod, its glass-like surface fogged but intact. Inside lay a figure, a child, no older than 10 by human standards. Her skin shimmered faintly, reflecting hues of silver and violet, and her large almond-shaped eyes were closed as though she were sleeping. She wasn't human, yet there was something undeniably familiar about her peaceful expression. "She's alive," murmured Dr. Elena Cho, the team's biologist, scanning the pod with her handheld device. "Vital signs are stable, but I've never seen anything like this before." Elias hesitated. Protocol dictated leaving alien artifacts untouched until proper authorization arrived. But looking at the girl, fragile, vulnerable, and utterly alone, he felt a pang of compassion he couldn't ignore. He thought of all the stories he'd heard growing up, tales of explorers who encountered the unknown and chose kindness over fear. "We're taking her with us," Elias said firmly, cutting off any protests. "She's the only survivor here. If we leave her, she'll die." Dr. Cho exchanged a glance with Lieutenant Singh, both women clearly uneasy but unwilling to argue. Carefully, they deactivated the pod, and the girl stirred, her luminous eyes fluttering open. For a moment, she simply stared at them, her gaze curious but unafraid. Then, in a gesture that transcended language, she reached out a slender hand toward Elias. He took it gently, feeling warmth radiate through his gloved fingers. Despite the vast differences between them, there was no mistaking the connection. In that instant, Elias knew his decision was right. Whatever challenges awaited them, whatever mysteries surrounded this enigmatic child, one thing was certain: she deserved a chance to live. Back aboard the Aurora Seeker, the crew watched in awe as the girl adapted to her new surroundings. She seemed fascinated by everything: the blinking lights of the control panels, the soft hum of the engines, even the mundane act of eating. Though she couldn't speak, her expressive eyes conveyed volumes, and her presence brought an unexpected sense of wonder to the otherwise routine mission. For Ilias, the discovery marked the beginning of something extraordinary. Little did he know, this abandoned alien girl would not only change his life, but also inspire hope across galaxies. As he gazed at her sitting quietly in the observation deck, staring out at the endless expanse of stars, he felt a spark of optimism ignite within him. Whatever lay ahead, he was ready to face it, with her by his side. The return to Earth's orbital station, known as Horizon Prime, was a journey filled with anticipation and uncertainty. The alien girl, still unnamed but already cherished by the crew, had become an enigma they couldn't ignore. Her presence aboard the Aurora Seeker transformed the once sterile spacecraft into something warmer, almost alive. She seemed to radiate a quiet energy that made even the most mundane tasks feel meaningful. Upon docking at Horizon Prime, the largest space station orbiting Earth, Captain Elias Rowe and his team were greeted by a flurry of activity. Scientists, engineers, linguists, and government officials swarmed the airlock, eager to examine the mysterious child who had survived centuries, or perhaps millennia, in stasis. For Elias, handing her over felt like betraying a promise he hadn't yet fully understood. Yet, protocol demanded it. She wasn't just a passenger, but a discovery that could reshape humanity's understanding of the universe. The initial days were chaotic. Teams of researchers worked around the clock, running tests on her physiology, analyzing the faint light patterns that danced across her skin, and attempting to decode her nonverbal communication. Unlike humans, she didn't rely on spoken language. Instead, her body emitted soft glows in varying colors and intensities. These luminous signals appeared deliberate, forming intricate shapes and symbols when she interacted with others. It was as if she spoke through light itself, a language far beyond human comprehension. Elias watched all this unfold from a distance, torn between duty and instinct. He knew the scientists meant well, but their clinical approach left him uneasy. They treated her more like a specimen than a person, ignoring the spark of intelligence and emotion in her glowing eyes. Determined to bridge the gap, Elias began visiting her during his off hours. At first, their interactions were awkward. He wasn't a scientist or a linguist, but he brought simple gifts: books with colorful illustrations, musical instruments, and even recordings of birdsong from Earth. To his surprise, she responded enthusiastically. When he played a gentle melody on a handheld flute, her skin shimmered in rhythmic waves, matching the tune note for note. When he showed her pictures of animals or landscapes, her expressions shifted subtly, conveying awe or curiosity. Over time, these small exchanges built trust, and Elias realized she wasn't just learning from him. She was teaching him too. One evening, while sitting cross-legged on the floor of her observation chamber, Elias noticed something remarkable. As he described his home planet, the blue oceans, green forests, and bustling cities, her skin began to glow brighter, pulsating in warm golden hues. Then, without warning, she extended a hand toward him, palm up. In the center of her hand materialized a glowing symbol, swirling like liquid gold. It hovered briefly before fading away, leaving behind a lingering sense of calm. "She's trying to communicate," Elias murmured aloud, though no one else was present. "But what is she saying?" Over the next few weeks, Elias dedicated himself to deciphering her messages. With the help of Dr. Elena Cho, who had developed a rudimentary translation program based on her light patterns, they slowly pieced together fragments of meaning. One breakthrough came when she emitted a series of symbols in response to Elias describing happiness. The program translated them roughly as, "I will make you happy." Those 6 words struck a chord deep within Elias. Happiness had always been elusive for him, a fleeting sensation overshadowed by the weight of responsibility and loss. His wife had passed away years ago, leaving him adrift in a sea of solitude. Since then, he'd buried himself in work, avoiding emotional connections. But now, faced with this promise from a being so different yet so profoundly kind, he found himself wondering if happiness might still be possible. Word of her abilities spread quickly throughout Horizon Prime. People began requesting visits, drawn not only by scientific curiosity, but also by whispers of her calming influence. Those who spent time with her reported feeling lighter, freer, as though their burdens had momentarily lifted. Some claimed she could sense their deepest fears and anxiety. The year was 2147, and humanity had finally begun to stretch its reach beyond the confines of Earth. Colonies dotted distant planets, and exploration missions ventured further into uncharted territories. Among these explorers was Captain Elias Rowe, a seasoned astronaut known for his calm demeanor and sharp instincts. He led a small crew aboard the Aurora Seeker, a sleek vessel designed for deep space reconnaissance. Their mission was simple: chart new star systems and identify resources that could support human expansion. On their 15th day in orbit around an icy moon circling a gas giant, something unusual caught the attention of the ship's sensors. Deep beneath the frozen surface, buried under layers of ancient ice, lay what appeared to be a massive metallic structure. At first glance, it resembled a natural formation, but closer scans revealed intricate patterns etched into its surface, patterns too symmetrical to occur naturally. "Captain," called out Lieutenant Mara Singh from her station, her voice tinged with excitement. "This isn't just a bris. It's a ship." Elias leaned forward, studying the holographic display projected above the console. His brow furrowed as he processed the implications. Ships didn't just crash on random moons. They were abandoned, destroyed, or lost. Whatever this was, it wasn't human-made. "Prepare a landing team," Elias ordered, his tone steady despite the adrenaline coursing through him. "We're going down there." The descent was perilous. The moon's atmosphere, or lack thereof, made navigation tricky, and the thick ice obscured visibility. But after hours of careful maneuvering, the shuttle touched down near the edge of the mysterious structure. Clad in thermal suits equipped with oxygen tanks, Elias and 2 members of his crew stepped onto the desolate landscape. The airlock of the alien craft was partially exposed, its jagged edges glinting faintly under the dim light of the distant sun. Inside, the temperature dropped sharply, and the silence was oppressive. The walls of the corridor gleamed with a strange iridescence, pulsating softly as if alive. Every step echoed ominously, heightening the sense of unease. Yet Elias couldn't shake the feeling that they weren't alone. "Stay alert," he whispered into his communicator, his breath visible in the frigid air. "Something feels off." As they moved deeper into the ship, the corridors grew narrower, twisting like veins in some colossal organism. Then, without warning, the ground trembled slightly, and a low hum resonated through the walls. Ahead, a faint blue glow emanated from an open doorway. Cautiously, Elias approached, his heart pounding in anticipation. What he found inside took his breath away. In the center of the room stood a cryogenic pod, its glass-like surface fogged but intact. Inside lay a figure, a child, no older than 10 by human standards. Her skin shimmered faintly, reflecting hues of silver and violet, and her large almond-shaped eyes were closed as though she were sleeping. She wasn't human, yet there was something undeniably familiar about her peaceful expression. "She's alive," murmured Dr. Elena Cho, the team's biologist, scanning the pod with her handheld device. "Vital signs are stable, but I've never seen anything like this before." Elias hesitated. Protocol dictated leaving alien artifacts untouched until proper authorization arrived. But looking at the girl, fragile, vulnerable, and utterly alone, He felt a pang of compassion he couldn't ignore. He thought of all the stories he'd heard growing up, tales of explorers who encountered the unknown and chose kindness over fear. "We're taking her with us," Elias said firmly, cutting off any protests. "She's the only survivor here. If we leave her, she'll die." Dr. Cho exchanged a glance with Lieutenant Singh, both women clearly uneasy but unwilling to argue. Carefully, they deactivated the pod, and the girl stirred, her luminous eyes fluttering open. For a moment, she simply stared at them, her gaze curious but unafraid. Then, in a gesture that transcended language, she reached out a slender hand toward Elias. He took it gently, feeling warmth radiate through his gloved fingers. Despite the vast differences between them, there was no mistaking the connection. In that instant, Elias knew his decision was right. Whatever challenges awaited them, whatever mysteries surrounded this enigmatic child, one thing was certain: she deserved a chance to live. Back aboard the Aurora Seeker, the crew watched in awe as the girl adapted to her new surroundings. She seemed fascinated by everything: the blinking lights of the control panels, the soft hum of the engines, even the mundane act of eating. Though she couldn't speak, her expressive eyes conveyed volumes, and her presence brought an unexpected, his gruff demeanor and relentless work ethic. Exhausted from years of pushing boundaries in quantum mechanics, he initially dismissed the idea of meeting Leora as frivolous. Yet, when a colleague insisted, he reluctantly agreed, expecting little more than a novelty. What happened next shocked him, and everyone else. As Dr. Park entered the observation chamber, Leora greeted him with a soft glow emanating from her hands. At first, he stiffened, uncomfortable with the unfamiliar energy. But within moments, his shoulders relaxed, and the tension etched into his face softened. For the first time in years, he laughed, not out of obligation or politeness, but pure joy. Afterward, he confessed to Elias that he felt lighter, as though a weight he hadn't realized he was carrying had been lifted. Stories like Dr. Park's spread quickly, fueling both admiration and envy. Some praised Leora as a miracle worker, while others accused her of manipulating minds or casting some form of hypnotic spell. Conspiracy theories abounded, claiming she was part of an alien plot to pacify humanity before invasion. Though baseless, these rumors added another layer of complexity to an already delicate situation. Amidst the chaos, Elias remained steadfast. He spent every free moment with Leora, teaching her about Earth's cultures, history, and values. In return, she taught him patience, empathy, and the importance of finding beauty in simplicity. Together, they explored virtual recreations of natural wonders: waterfalls cascading over jagged cliffs, deserts stretching endlessly beneath starlit skies, forests teeming with life. Each experience deepened their bond, reinforcing the unspoken promise she had made: "I will make you happy." Yet, not everyone shared Elias's protective instincts. One evening, as he walked Leora back to her quarters, they encountered a group of scientists arguing heatedly outside the lab. The debate centered on whether her empathic abilities stemmed from biological processes or something more metaphysical, a question with implications far beyond mere curiosity. "She's not just a scientific puzzle," Elias interjected, his voice firm but calm. "She's a sentient being. Whatever her origins, she deserves respect." The lead scientist, Dr. Margaret Hale, crossed her arms, her expression skeptical. "Respect is one thing, Captain Rowe, but we can't ignore the potential applications of her abilities. Imagine curing depression, ending wars, fostering global unity, all because of what she can do." Elias clenched his fists, resisting the urge to argue further. Instead, he turned to Leora, who stood silently beside him, her skin glowing faintly in shades of blue and silver. Without hesitation, she extended a hand toward Dr. Hale, emitting a series of symbols that pulsed gently in the air. To everyone's astonishment, the usually stoic scientist visibly softened, her rigid posture relaxing as tears welled up in her eyes. I understand, Dr. Hale whispered, her voice trembling. You're not a tool. You're you. From that day forward, attitudes shifted. While debates about ethics and responsibility continued, there was a newfound acknowledgement of Leora's autonomy. She wasn't merely a phenomenon to study. She was a partner in humanity's journey toward understanding itself. As weeks turned into months, Leora's influence extended beyond individual interactions. Inspired by her example, initiatives promoting mental health awareness and emotional intelligence gained traction throughout Horizon Prime. Support groups formed, encouraging open dialogue about struggles and triumphs alike. Art installations celebrating diversity and connection adorned the station's corridors, reflecting the unity Leora embodied. For Elias, witnessing these changes filled him with a sense of purpose he hadn't felt in years. Through Leora, he rediscovered the power of compassion, not as a fleeting emotion, but as a force capable of transforming lives. And though challenges lay ahead, he knew they would face them together, guided by the promise she had made and the hope it represented. Little did he realize, however, that their bond would soon be tested in ways neither of them could have imagined. As whispers of danger from her past grew louder, Elias would be forced to confront the true cost of protecting the girl who had promised to make him happy, and the galaxy that awaited her gift of gratitude. As life aboard Horizon Prime settled into a rhythm shaped by Leora's presence, Elias began to notice subtle changes that unsettled him. Strange occurrences, small at first but increasingly frequent, hinted at trouble brewing beneath the surface. Power surges disrupted daily operations, causing lights to flicker and equipment to malfunction. Cryptic messages appeared on screens across the station, written in glowing symbols, really similar to those Leora used to communicate. The words were fragmented but unmistakable. She does not belong here. At first, Elias dismissed these incidents as technical glitches or pranks played by overworked engineers. But when the disturbances grew more deliberate, a locked door opening on its own, an airlock alarm sounding without cause, he knew something was wrong. His instincts told him this wasn't random interference. It was a warning. Elias confided in Dr. Elena Cho, who had become one of his closest allies since their discovery of Leora. Together, they reviewed security footage and analyzed the strange symbols. What they found sent chills down their spines. The messages weren't coming from within the station. They originated externally, transmitted through encrypted channels that bypassed firewalls designed to protect against alien intrusions. "This isn't just someone messing with us," Elena said grimly, her fingers hovering over a holographic display. "Whoever is behind this knows about Leora, and they're trying to scare us off." The implications weighed heavily on Elias. If outsiders had discovered Leora's existence, how long would it take for others to follow? And what did they want with her? One evening, while walking Leora back to her quarters, Elias noticed her behaving unusually. Her normally serene demeanor gave way to restlessness, her skin shimmering faintly in rapid bursts of red and gold. She stopped abruptly, turning toward a nearby viewport. Beyond the thick glass, the vast expanse of space stretched endlessly, dotted with stars and distant planets. But something caught her attention, a faint glimmer moving against the backdrop of darkness. "What do you see?" Elias asked softly, placing a hand on her shoulder. Leora didn't respond verbally, but her body language spoke volumes. She raised a hand, pointing directly at the glimmer. Moments later, alarms blared throughout the station. A vessel had entered orbit, an unmarked craft unlike anything in Earth's database. Its sleek design suggested advanced technology, far beyond human capabilities. "Captain Rowe, report to command immediately," barked a voice over the intercom. Elias hesitated, torn between duty and his responsibility to Leora. Sensing his unease, she placed a glowing hand on his arm, her expression calm yet resolute. It was as if she understood the gravity of the situation and trusted him to handle it. "I'll be back soon," he promised, squeezing her hand gently before rushing to the command center. When Elias arrived, the atmosphere was tense. Station personnel scrambled to identify the unknown ship, which remained ominously silent despite repeated attempts at communication. Finally, after what felt like hours, a signal came through, not in spoken language, but in the same glowing symbols that had plagued the station. This time, however, the message was clear. Return what is ours. Elias exchanged a glance with Lieutenant Mira Singh, who stood beside him, her face pale. They're here for Lyora, she whispered. Before anyone could formulate a response, the ship unleashed a low-frequency pulse that reverberated through the station. Systems faltered, and panic spread among the crew. Lights dimmed, gravity fluctuated, and emergency protocols kicked in automatically. Amidst the chaos, Elias realized one thing: hiding Lyora wouldn't work anymore. Whoever, or whatever, was out there, they knew exactly where she was. Returning to her quarters, Elias found Lyora waiting patiently, her glow steady and unwavering. When he explained the situation, she listened intently, her luminous eyes reflecting understanding rather than fear. Then, using her unique form of communication, she conveyed a single message: "I can help." "No," Elias replied firmly. "You've already done enough. I won't put you in danger." But Lyora wasn't deterred. She stepped closer, placing both hands on his chest. A wave of warmth surged through him, filling him with courage and clarity. For the first time, he truly grasped the depth of her abilities, not just to amplify emotions, but to channel energy itself. Whatever threat loomed outside, she believed she could face it. Reluctantly, Elias agreed to let her try, but only under strict conditions. With Alina and Mara by his side, he devised a plan to confront the invaders head-on. Using Lyora's empathic abilities, they hoped to neutralize the hostile forces without resorting to violence. It was a risky gamble, but it might be their only chance to avoid bloodshed. The confrontation took place in the station's docking bay, where the alien craft had positioned itself ominously close. As the airlock opened, a group of figures emerged. Tall, angular beings clad in metallic armor that shimmered like liquid mercury. Their faces were obscured by visors, but their movements radiated hostility. They carried weapons unlike anything humanity had seen, pulsating with an eerie blue light. Elias stepped forward, his heart pounding, but his resolve unshaken. Behind him stood Lyora, flanked by Alina and Mara. Though outnumbered and outgunned, they refused to back down. "We don't want conflict," Elias said, raising his hands in a gesture of peace, "but we won't surrender her either." For a moment, silence hung heavy in the air. Then one of the armored figures raised a weapon, aiming it directly at Lyora. Before anyone could react, she stepped forward, her entire body glowing brightly. The light intensified until it filled the room, enveloping everyone, including the invaders, in a radiant embrace. The effect was instantaneous. The hostile energy emanating from the aliens dissipated, replaced by visible confusion and hesitation. One by one, their weapons deactivated, falling harmlessly to the ground. Through her glow, Lyora projected a series of symbols, communicating without words. The message was simple yet profound. Peace is stronger than fear. Slowly, the invaders retreated, boarding their ship and vanishing into the void. Though victorious, Elias couldn't shake the feeling that this was only the beginning. Whoever they were, and whatever connection they had to Lyora, they wouldn't give up so easily. Back in the safety of Horizon Prime, Elias reflected on what had happened. Lyora's actions had proven her strength, not through aggression but through unity. Yet he raised questions he couldn't answer. Who were those beings? Why had they come for her? And most importantly, how could they ensure her safety going forward? As he sat with Lyora in the observation chamber, watching the stars stretch endlessly beyond the viewport, he made a silent vow. No matter the cost, he would protect her, not just because she had promised to make him happy, but because she represented something greater: hope. And in a galaxy fraught with uncertainty, hope was worth fighting for. In the days following the confrontation with the mysterious invaders, life aboard Horizon Prime took on a new intensity. While the immediate threat had been neutralized, the lingering questions cast a shadow over the station's usual routines. The crew worked tirelessly to repair systems damaged by the alien pulse, but their efforts were overshadowed by an unspoken fear. What if the invaders returned? And what did they truly want with Lyora? For Elias, the encounter forced him to confront hard truths. Protecting Lyora wasn't just about shielding her from harm. It was about preparing her for whatever challenges lay ahead. She had demonstrated incredible power during the standoff, using her empathic abilities to disarm hostility without causing harm. But that same power made her a target, and Elias knew they couldn't rely on luck or goodwill forever. Dr. Elena Cho approached him one evening as he sat in the observation chamber, staring out at the stars. "We need to understand her abilities better," she said softly, taking the seat beside him. "If we're going to keep her safe, we have to help her harness them fully." Elias nodded, his jaw tight with determination. "I agree. But how do we do that without pushing her too far? She's still learning, still growing." Elena hesitated before responding. "She's stronger than we give her credit for, Elias. Look at what she did back there. That wasn't instinct, it was control. We just need to guide her." The next morning, Elias gathered a small team consisting of Elena, Lieutenant Mara Singh, and a few trusted scientists. Together, they began designing experiments to explore the full extent of Lyora's gifts. At first, the sessions were simple, testing her ability to amplify emotions, decipher complex patterns, and manipulate energy fields. To everyone's surprise, Lyora adapted quickly, her glowing symbols becoming more intricate and precise with each trial. One breakthrough came when Elena introduced a simulation designed to mimic hostile environments. Using holographic projections, they recreated scenarios ranging from natural disasters to combat zones. The goal was to see how Lyora responded under pressure and whether she could maintain composure while channeling her powers. During one particularly intense session, the simulation depicted a swarm of drones firing harmless beams of light. As the drones closed in, Lyora raised her hands, emitting a brilliant burst of golden energy. Instead of destroying the drones, her light enveloped them, disabling their weapons and rendering them inert. When the simulation ended, the team erupted into applause, amazed by her restraint and precision. "She's not just amplifying emotions," Elena observed later, reviewing the data. "She's redirecting energy itself. If we can teach her to focus that ability consciously, she'll be unstoppable." As weeks passed, Lyora's confidence grew alongside her skills. With Elias's guidance, she learned to create protective barriers capable of deflecting physical objects and even low-level energy blasts. During training exercises, she practiced forming shields around herself and others, ensuring no one would be harmed. Her progress filled Elias with pride, but also unease. Every step forward brought them closer to understanding her potential, yet it also highlighted the dangers lurking beyond the station's walls. Meanwhile, tensions aboard Horizon Prime continued to rise. Rumors of the invasion spread among the crew, fueling paranoia and division. Some argued that Lyora's presence put everyone at risk, while others insisted she was humanity's best chance at forging alliances with advanced civilizations. Debates turned heated, and tempers flared, threatening the fragile unity the station had once enjoyed. Realizing the situation was spiraling out of control, Elias decided to take action. He called a meeting in the main assembly hall, inviting every member of the crew to attend. As the room filled with anxious faces, he stepped onto the stage, his voice steady and clear. "I know many of you are scared," he began, scanning the crowd. "And you have every right to be. What happened here was unprecedented and dangerous. But let me remind you of something important. Lyora isn't our enemy. She saved us. Without her, none of us would be standing here today." A murmur rippled through the audience, but Elias pressed on. "Yes, she's different. Yes, she comes from a world we don't understand. But isn't that why we became explorers in the first place? To seek out the unknown, to learn, to grow. If we turn our backs on her now, we betray everything we stand for. His words struck a chord. Slowly, the murmurs faded, replaced by nods of agreement. Though not everyone was convinced, the tide of opinion shifted enough to ease the tension. For now. With the crew somewhat reassured, Elias focused on strengthening Leora's abilities. One afternoon, during a private session, she surprised him by projecting a series of glowing symbols into the air. Through Alina's translation program, they deciphered the message. "Teach me to fight." Elias frowned, unsure how to respond. "You don't need to fight," he said gently. "Your strength lies in bringing people together, not in conflict." But Leora persisted, her expression firm. This time, the symbols pulsed insistently. "I must protect." It was then that Elias realized she wasn't asking for herself. She wanted to defend those who couldn't defend themselves. The crew, humanity, perhaps even her own kind. Her determination inspired him to reconsider his protective instincts. Perhaps shielding her wasn't enough. Perhaps empowering her was the key to ensuring peace. Under strict supervision, Elias and his team began teaching Leora defensive techniques. They showed her how to analyze threats, anticipate movements, and use her energy efficiently. Each lesson reinforced her innate talent for nonviolent resolution, proving that her greatest weapon was compassion, not destruction. One evening, as Elias walked Leora back to her quarters, she stopped suddenly, her skin glowing faintly in shades of silver and blue. Beyond the viewport, the vast expanse of space stretched endlessly, dotted with stars and distant planets. For a moment, she simply stood there, gazing outward as though searching for something or someone. "What are you looking for?" Elias asked quietly. Leora turned to him, her luminous eyes reflecting both sadness and resolve. Then, using her familiar pattern of symbols, she conveyed a single message. "My family is gone. My home is lost. But I will find a new purpose with you." Her words hit Elias like a tidal wave, filling him with a mix of sorrow and hope. In that moment, he understood the depth of her courage, not just to survive, but to thrive despite unimaginable loss. Whatever challenges awaited them, he knew they would face them together. Little did either of them realize, however, that their journey was far from over. As the stars twinkled silently in the void, shadows stirred in the distance, reminders that peace was fragile, and danger always lurked just beyond the horizon. The decision to leave Horizon Prime was not made lightly. After weeks of debate, Elias and his team concluded that staying on the orbital station posed too great a risk, not just for Leora, but for everyone aboard. The invaders had shown they could breach Earth's defenses with ease, and rumors of her existence were spreading beyond the confines of the station. It wouldn't be long before others came looking, some driven by curiosity, others by greed or malice. Elias proposed a bold solution: relocate Leora to Earth itself. Hidden among humanity's bustling cities and advanced technology, she would have a better chance of blending in while continuing to develop her abilities under their protection. More importantly, it would allow them to build bridges between humans and other peaceful alien races, a step toward fostering unity rather than fear. The idea initially met resistance from station administrators, who argued that exposing Earth to potential threats was reckless. But Elias countered with logic and conviction. "If we isolate ourselves, we'll only perpetuate mistrust," he said during one heated meeting. "Leora isn't just a survivor. She's an opportunity to show the galaxy that humanity can coexist with others. We can't let fear dictate our future." With approval finally granted, preparations began in earnest. A secure facility was constructed near the outskirts of New Eden City, a sprawling metropolis known for its cultural diversity and technological innovation. Dubbed Nova Haven, the sanctuary was designed as both a refuge and a hub for interstellar diplomacy. Its walls shimmered with adaptive camouflage, blending seamlessly into the surrounding landscape, while state-of-the-art sensors ensured constant vigilance against intruders. When Leora first stepped foot on Earth, her reaction was nothing short of awe-inspiring. Standing beneath an open sky for the first time, she tilted her face upward, letting sunlight dance across her glowing skin. Birds chirped overhead, leaves rustled in the breeze, and the distant hum of human activity filled the air. For someone who had spent centuries frozen in stasis, this moment was overwhelming and beautiful. Elias watched her closely, noting how her light patterns shifted in response to every new sensation. When children approached curiously, drawn by her radiant presence, she knelt down to greet them, her smile warm and inviting. In turn, the kids giggled and reached out to touch her hands, marveling at the faint glow that lingered on their fingertips afterward. It was a small yet profound interaction, one that symbolized the connection Elias hoped to inspire. Word of Leora's arrival spread quickly through New Eden City. At first, reactions were mixed. Some residents welcomed her with open arms, eager to learn more about her origins and abilities. Others remained cautious, unsure what to make of an alien living among them. To address these concerns, Elias organized public gatherings where Leora could interact with people directly. Each event drew larger crowds, as attendees left feeling uplifted and inspired by her calming influence. One such gathering took place in Central Park, where thousands gathered to witness an unprecedented spectacle, an interstellar festival celebrating diversity and cooperation. Stalls lined the pathways, showcasing art, music, and cuisine from cultures across the globe, and even a few samples from friendly alien species. Performances ranged from traditional dances to holographic displays of distant worlds, creating an atmosphere of wonder and unity. At the center of it all stood Leora, her glowing form drawing attention without overshadowing the festivities. She moved gracefully among the crowd, pausing to listen to musicians, admire paintings, and taste exotic foods. Her presence seemed to amplify the joy around her, turning strangers into friends and skeptics into believers. During one particularly memorable performance, a group of musicians played a hauntingly beautiful melody using instruments crafted from materials found on various planets. As the notes echoed through the park, Leora joined in, her body emitting pulses of light that harmonized perfectly with the music. The audience erupted into applause, many wiping away tears as they realized the depth of emotion conveyed through her silent participation. Behind the scenes, however, challenges persisted. Not everyone viewed Leora's integration so favorably. Certain factions within Earth's government saw her as a potential weapon, advocating for stricter control over her movements and activities. Others feared that her growing popularity might destabilize global power structures, leading to unrest or rebellion. Even some members of the scientific community pushed for invasive testing, arguing that understanding her biology was crucial for humanity's survival. Elias fought tirelessly to protect her autonomy, often clashing with officials who prioritized security over ethics. With Alina's help, he drafted a charter outlining Leora's rights and responsibilities, emphasizing mutual respect and collaboration. The document became the foundation of Nova Haven's mission, to serve as a bridge between species, fostering dialogue and trust rather than division. Leora herself played a pivotal role in shaping this vision. Through her interactions, she demonstrated that happiness transcended language, culture, and even biology. Whether soothing a grieving parent, inspiring an artist to create their masterpiece, or simply sharing a quiet moment with a stranger, she reminded everyone of their shared humanity, or sentience. As months passed, Nova Haven flourished into a symbol of hope. Visitors from across the galaxy traveled to Earth, eager to experience its unique blend of compassion and innovation. Among them were representatives from peaceful alien races, seeking alliances and partnerships based on mutual benefit. Under Leora's guidance, these meetings fostered groundbreaking collaborations in fields ranging from medicine to renewable energy. For Elias, watching this transformation unfold filled him with a sense of fulfillment he hadn't felt in years. Through Leora, he had rediscovered his purpose, not as a soldier or explorer, but as a builder of bridges. And though shadows still loomed on the horizon, he knew they were ready to face whatever came next. Little did he realize, however, that Leora's journey was far from over. As she gazed at the stars stretching endlessly above Earth, her glowing eyes reflected both gratitude and resolve. Whatever destiny awaited her, she was prepared to embrace it, with Elias by her side, guiding her every step of the way. Years passed, and the world changed in ways no one could have predicted. Nova Haven became more than just a sanctuary. It evolved into a beacon of unity, drawing beings from across the galaxy to its gates. The facility expanded, its walls adorned with murals depicting scenes of cooperation between humans and aliens. Gardens bloomed with flora from countless worlds, their vibrant colors symbolizing the diversity of life that now thrived together. At the heart of it all stood Leora, her luminous presence unchanged despite the passage of time. Elias, however, was not immune to the effects of age. His once steady hands trembled slightly as he held his morning cup of tea, and lines etched deeper into his weathered face. Yet his spirit remained unbroken, fueled by the joy and purpose Leora had brought into his life. Together, they had built something extraordinary, a legacy of hope that transcended species, borders, and even lifetimes. Leora's growth during those years was remarkable. She mastered her abilities, learning to channel energy with precision and intention. What began as simple acts of empathy blossomed into feats of healing and protection. She mended broken bones, calmed raging storms, and even restored barren lands to fertile fields. But her greatest gift wasn't physical, it was emotional. Through her radiant light, she reminded everyone who crossed her path that happiness was possible, no matter how dire the circumstances. As Elias grew older, he often reflected on the promise she had made so many years ago. "I will make you happy." It wasn't just words. It was a vow she fulfilled every day, not only for him, but for countless others. And though their bond remained unshaken, Elias knew their time together was limited. One evening, as they sat beneath the stars outside Nova Haven, Elias turned to her with a gentle smile. "You've done more than I ever imagined," he said softly. "But your journey doesn't end here. There's still so much you can do, for this planet, for the galaxy." Leora tilted her head, her glowing eyes meeting his. For a moment, silence stretched between them, filled only by the soft rustle of leaves and distant hum of crickets. Then she extended her hand, projecting a series of symbols that pulsed warmly in the air. Elena Cho, who had developed an advanced translation program over the years, interpreted the message aloud. "You gave me a home when I had none. Now I must give back, to honor what we've built." Elias nodded, tears glistening in his eyes. He understood. Leora's destiny was far greater than staying confined to Earth or Nova Haven. She was meant to explore the universe, spreading her gifts to corners of the cosmos, untouched by peace or compassion. The day came sooner than expected. While attending a diplomatic summit at Nova Haven, Elias fell ill, a sudden but unsurprising consequence of old age. Doctors worked tirelessly to stabilize him, but his body had reached its limits. Surrounded by loved ones, including Elena, Mara, and a host of friends both human and alien, Elias spent his final days in quiet reflection. On the morning of his passing, Leora sat beside him, holding his hand gently. Her skin glowed brighter than ever before, bathing the room in golden light. As his breathing slowed and eventually ceased, a profound calm settled over everyone present. No one cried, not because they weren't grieving, but because Leora's presence filled him with gratitude. In that moment, they didn't feel loss. They felt connection. Elias's life may have ended, but his impact lived on through the bonds he had forged and the hope he had inspired. When the light faded, leaving behind an indescribable warmth, the gathered mourners shared stories of Elias's courage, kindness, and unwavering dedication. They spoke of how he had taken a chance on a frightened alien girl, believing in her potential when others saw only risk. and they vowed to carry forward his legacy, ensuring that Nova Haven would continue to thrive as a testament to his vision. In the weeks following Elias's death, Leora prepared for her next chapter. With the help of Elena and other trusted allies, she planned a voyage across the galaxy, a mission to share her gifts and foster understanding among civilizations. Before departing, she organized a grand ceremony at Nova Haven, inviting representatives from every corner of the known universe. The event was both a farewell and a celebration, marking the culmination of everything they had achieved together. Standing before the assembled crowd, Leora emitted a cascade of glowing symbols that shimmered like fireworks in the night sky. Through Elena's translation, the message resonated deeply. Happiness is not bound by species, planets, or stars. It lives within each of us, waiting to be shared. Let us build bridges where there are divides, and light where there is darkness. This is my promise, to Elias, to humanity, and to the galaxy. The audience erupted into applause, their cheers echoing across the grounds. As Leora stepped onto her spacecraft, a sleek vessel designed to withstand the rigors of deep space travel, she paused briefly to look back at Earth. Her glowing form reflected the planet's blue oceans and green continents, a reminder of the home she had found and the future she aimed to create. Her journey took her to places few had dared to explore. She visited war-torn planets, offering solace to those ravaged by conflict. She walked among dying stars, sharing her light with civilizations on the brink of extinction. And she ventured into the void itself, seeking out isolated beings yearning for connection. Everywhere she went, she left behind traces of hope, glowing symbols etched into rocks, whispers carried by cosmic winds, and memories imprinted on hearts. Though centuries passed, tales of Leora spread throughout the galaxy. Poems were written about her radiant glow, songs celebrated her compassion, and legends portrayed her as a guardian of peace. To some, she became a myth, a figure of inspiration rather than reality. But to those who encountered her firsthand, she was proof that happiness could transcend even the vastness of space. And yet, Leora never forgot her origins. On quiet nights, when the stars aligned just right, she would gaze at Earth from afar, remembering the man who had saved her and the promise she had made to him. Though Elias was gone, his spirit guided her still, lighting the way for generations to come. In the end, Leora's story wasn't just about survival or strength. It was about love. Love for a savior who believed in her, love for a species that welcomed her despite their fears, and love for a galaxy that, despite its flaws, held infinite potential for unity. Through her actions, she proved that happiness wasn't a fleeting emotion. It was a choice, a gift, and a force capable of changing the universe. As her ship disappeared into the endless expanse of stars, one truth remained clear. Elias Rowe had been right to trust her, because in fulfilling her promise to make him happy, Leora had ensured that his legacy, and hers, would shine brightly for eternity.